And now it is the noon o'clock hour. We bring in Darren Smith. And on every noon o'clock hour, brought to you by Colleague Racing, the official NASCAR team of Northeast Ohio. What's up, Darren?
Darren. Where is he?
Boy, I got to hit you up
There he
on the DM because I need to find out what you're doing with that weight loss thing. So I'm going to hit you up after the show.
All right, man. Yeah, hit me up.
Darren, you can't have the best suits and be small. We might hate on that move.
Yeah, the problem is, Darren, you're going to need all new suits.
That's true. That's true.
That's the good thing about having a suit sponsor. that comes with the territory.
That's true. But it's obnoxious. It's a little obnoxious. Like Joe Thomas it's obnoxious that he's gotten so skinny.
Oh,
I don't think there's anything obnoxious about it.
I'm trying to be like you, Bull. I'm trying to make sure I live longer. But see, the problem I have is that
Agreed.
The problem I have is that Kansas City is a barbecue baron, and one of my sponsors is the OG Ollie Gates of Gates Barbecue. So it's hard when I walk in and they give me free food.
Yeah, that is tough.
Devastating.
Hey, Darren, let's start with Juan Thornhill because you DM'd me. We were exchanging some messages the other day about Thornhill, and you said I'll quote you. You said you are gonna love Thornhill. Tell us why we're gonna love him.
Well, one, he's a smart professional football player. You know, you worry about character issues a lot of times dealing with some players. And Kansas City has had its fair share. Even if you want to look at Frank Clark with some of the issues that he dealt with even before he came to Kansas City and while he was here. Juan Thornhill is a player that you don't have to worry about on the field or off the field. He's a smart player. He's the first rookie to ever start in Steve Spagnuolo's defensive system, wow. And that says a lot because he doesn't like to start rookies. And of course, Trent McDuffie and a few others over the last couple of years have started in that system, and he saw that. So you have a smart football player for one. So him moving from Spags over to Swartz it's a wash from where I look at. He's someone that has overcome adversity. When he tore his ACL in the season finale, or the regular season finale, the year that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, he worked himself back into the starting lineup the following year. Now, he did get benched some because his play, because he was worried about doing damage. But even after that, helping the team get back to the Super Bowl, and then of course winning this year, he played alongside some great players in Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed. I just think that you all are going to get a ball hawk, someone who would plan with Justin Reed and to be honest, to be covering Tyrann Mathieu will lay the big hit, and he's someone that I think that fans will grow attached to. And like I said, above all, he's a smart football player. You want to worry about him on or off the field.
Darren, Jay says this all the time. He looks at the Chiefs and say, if that organization and Andy Reid don't sign you or bring you back or go to another direction, it kind of gives him a little flag in his head saying, like, why is this guy not there? In the case with Thornhill, why did they choose not to bring him back? He seems like a young player. He seems to be heady in all the great attributes you mentioned, but they didn't bring him back.
I'm going to give you a little secret, and I've talked about this on my pregame show over the last couple of years. The Chiefs are doing the New England Patriots playbook, and what I mean by that is they're drafting well, and I can't take anything away from the scouting department. They've drafted well, they've hit well. If you look at what they did 2 years ago when after they lost to Tampa Bay, they needed to revamp that entire offensive line. They went out. The first person they signed was Joe Tooney. Second person they got was Orlando Brown in the trade. And then, of course, they had Lucas Niang, who they drafted the year before, but didn't play due to COVID. And then they drafted Creed Humphreys along with Trey Smith. All new offensive line. And, of course, we know what happened in the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati first time around. The reason why I say that is that they're drafting these players and playing them early, mix them in with the veterans so you get maximized value on a lower pay scale. So when it comes time for this draft class to come up, you're letting them get quote-unquote generational wealth with someone else to pay them. Because if you saw what they did last year or this past season, they drafted 10 rookies. I think 9 of them made the squad, and all 9 of them contributed throughout the season. So you got a lot of maximum value for a low price. So you don't have to worry about trying to bring a lot of your free agents back because you've got players that you brought in to replace them that mixed in throughout the regular season and training camp and preseason, and now they're up to speed and now they're ready to go. And so you can spend money on key players. You don't have to worry about Mahomes, but he'll always restructure and do whatever. The idea behind that, giving them a massive contract of 3 years ago, was to keep players like Tyreek and Chris Jones and stuff. Issue with Tyreek, we know what that was, but it allows you to to bring in a Juwan from Jacksonville, allow Orlando Brown to go somewhere else, and then if you want to, as we hear in talks, maybe trade for Larry Tunsil down in Houston, put him on the left tackle, then you put Juwan back on the right tackle, and now you're good to go when it comes to protecting Patrick Mahomes. You're hearing sounds about maybe DeAndre Hopkins in a trade to Kansas City and some of these other players. So the Chiefs are utilizing their money properly when it comes to trying to bring in big names that can continue to assist Mahomes. I got a few issues with it, but that's what they're doing. They're allowing their draft picks in the 2019 class, if they're not going to re-sign them, which I don't think they have any intentions on doing that, they're allowing them to go out and get the market and allow the market to give them generational wealth.
Darren, you mentioned Brown there a couple of times. What happened with that situation, and what do you think about Cincinnati signing him? Because I was surprised that they signed him.
Well, I'm surprised of where he ended up at, but
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that he signed.
Sure.
I've gone back and forth with fans as it relates to his contract, and it's funny. A lot of people talk a lot of smack about Orlando Brown, but they tell him that he should have signed the Chiefs contract. Well, that contract is one of the worst contracts that he could have been offered, because he was offered a 6-year deal, $139 million with $30 million signing bonus, but only the first 2 years were guaranteed. So he would play last year under the first year, or maybe it's a tag. I'm not sure how that works. And then you got the second year, and then the Chiefs could get can get off from that contract after this upcoming season. So I look at it as a win for him, because he got more guaranteed money coming from Cincinnati. He made $16 million with the Chiefs last year. He gets a $31 million bank deposit on Sunday from Cincinnati with a signing bonus. So in a matter of a calendar year, he's made $48 million on top of what he's going to do, on top of what he gets this season and next season. So, I tell people, quit trying to count people's money. But he had to do what's best for him. And any agent worth their salt would not have had their players sign that deal that the Chiefs offered last year.
Mecole Hardman. I'm getting a little scared here, Darren. Because we need a playmaker in the worst way. I know people still live in the 70s and 80s where receivers are a luxury, but I'm looking around and they're not a luxury. Unless you got Patrick Mahomes, you can't move that way. You got to move in a way that works best for you. Now, I'm not mad at what they've done so far. I give them B- to a B, solid in what they're doing. However, I'm looking at this market to see where's the speed coming from, where's the explosiveness. Mecole Hardman is out there. Juan Thornhill reached out on Twitter like, "Hey, come on, let's get this done." Mecole Hardman, what can he be? And for those who say, why would you take a guy who hasn't really lived up to expectations or has really blossomed with the best generational quarterback like Mahomes?
Here's the thing, and this is what people have to understand. And I know Jay has talked about this over the last week or so, that you all have gone all in with Deshaun Watson with his contract, and it's kind of what Kansas City has done. But granted, they worked out a deal where it's team friendly. If you're going to go all in, you got to go all in getting the best wide receivers or getting the best amount of talent around them. With Patrick Mahomes, I can name. Look, you go with Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire till he got injured, but then you go MVS, Juju, Travis Kelce, Blake Bell, Mecole Hardman, Kadarius. That's 8, 9 players that I've just named that Patrick Mahomes had as it relates to throwing the ball and passing the ball around to. That's what you need to have as it relates to Deshaun Watson. So I would say give Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman is someone who stretches the field. The reason why his numbers didn't live up to what people may have feel like expectations, he was on the same squad that had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and they were getting damn near 2,500 to 3,000 yards. You also had Sammy Watkins for 2 of his seasons, not actually for all 3 of his seasons that he was here. On top of, you had DeMarcus Robinson. So it's a situation where Andy and Patrick, they spread the ball around. So, when Tyreek would go down, somebody else would step up and get a chance to make replace. Plus, Mecole Hardman was returning kicks as well. So you don't. So if you depend on how much he's on the field, there's only so much he can do. And if you have an offense, look, I know that you all have concerns about Deshaun. I believe in Deshaun Watson. I believe in what he's going to be able to do for you all. My biggest concern with what you all have is going to come down to the play calling, putting players in the right situation. I'm telling you, if you get a Mecole Hardman, someone that can stretch the field, perhaps if you all can somehow get DeAndre Hopkins, I think he might end up in Kansas City. I'm not going to complain if he does, but if you all can get DeAndre Hopkins or Brandon Cooks or someone, I think that's a good start. But you all need to have at least 7, 8, 9 players that that you feel comfortable for Deshaun Watson to pass the ball around, because you want to keep that defense honest. That's the biggest reason why Kansas City has so much success and had a record-breaking year when it comes to their offense, because they had so many players that you could never really try to double anyone. So that's what you need.
I have a question for you, Darren. This is going to come out of left field, but we're looking for a receiver that can make a difference, returning over every stone. And I asked the guys last week, and don't laugh, Josh Gordon is 30 years old, 31 maybe?
Double check.
Josh Gordon, we tend to think that Josh Gordon's 50 because it seems so long ago when he had his unbelievable season here in Cleveland, but he's not that old. I know he was in camp last year with Kansas City, and Andy ultimately decided to move on. I'm not going to equate his success in the this arena league or wherever it is that he's playing. U.S. Well, I don't know what.
He's about to turn
XFL.
30. He's going to turn 32 in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so he's currently 31. Why didn't Andy keep him around? Because I thought when Andy let him go that's probably the end of the road for him. But I'm wondering, should the Browns kick the tires on him and just see?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Jay. I agree. I think that they should. The reason why they moved on, it was just a numbers game. I mean, they drafted Sky Moore in the draft, and of course you brought in Justin Watson from Tampa Bay as well. And plus you had MVS, you had Thornhill. I'm not Thornhill. Mecole Hardman, and you also had so you had 5 receivers.
So it was a
right
numbers
there.
thing, really.
It was just a numbers thing, and so I mean, and they had also signed the kid from Clemson as an undrafted rookie free agent. He had the ankle injury in the neck fusion after his freshman year. That they're high. I think it's Justin Ross that they're high on him on. So and then of course you bring in, well, we didn't know at the time, but John Ross from Cincinnati for this upcoming season. It just became a numbers game, and so if you're not going to keep him on the practice squad, allow him to to have a chance to go out and play. And look, I've seen what he's been able to do. I know it's XFL, but having that body, and the greatest thing about him being in Kansas City was that you didn't hear anything negative. You didn't hear any suspensions or anything. I mean, he was a model citizen, and I think him being in Kansas City helped him grow as a person and as a player. And I think that, look, I think that you should bring him back as well.
Could
at
you
least
imagine,
give him a chance.
What a redemption story that would be if they were able to bring him back and he was able to have any kind of success.
The odds
whatsoever.
of him being a viable player are
I get it.
Extreme long shot.
get it, but
Yeah.
I didn't get to see him like you saw him last year in camp. I did see the games that the Chiefs played that were nationally televised in the preseason. I can think of one, and I watched him, and he didn't seem to have that same burst and runaway speed. But other than that, I thought he still had a lot of the characteristics that a successful wide receiver in the NFL needs. And what the hell? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I just think if they were able to do that, how it would energize the roster, how it could energize the fan base, who knows? It's not going to cost you anything.
He's 32 years old and has 32 receiving yards in the last 2 years. So,
well, that's well documented.
But it's also, but look, it's also about opportunities. Again, when you're playing in Kansas City, it's going to be hard to stand out unless you're Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. It's going to be hard to get those opportunities when it comes your way.
Right.
You've got to look. I had asked Andy Reid during our sessions a couple of years ago. Well, you got him. Did you waste a position by not throwing the ball or not getting him involved? Next thing you know, that following Sunday, he gets probably his one and only touchdown in Kansas City. Which,
right.
Everybody thanked me for. But
well, you know what? I'll make it sound better, Bull.
Yeah.
Anthony Schwartz or Josh Gordon?
I like that.
Josh Gordon.
I listen. I like.
I mean,
I
if
like
you
that
want to bring him into camp, it's fine.
We're going to bring.
Yeah.
We're bringing Anthony Schwartz to camp.
Well, they shouldn't bring him to camp either.
Well, they are.
I don't know that they are. I don't think they should. But like Josh Gordon hasn't been a viable player in 5 years, and he's 32. So the odds that he can be a useful player is like 1,000 to 1.
I've seen receivers.
That's fair, but
Be
I've
useless
seen
for 4
production-
years and then be good at 32?
Well,
I can't imagine.
he's had so many issues, and by the way,
Yeah.
his biggest hurdle is now on the ground. I mean, the whole
I know, but he's
smoking
32,
marijuana thing.
Jay.
I know
And
he
he
is.
barely- he hasn't
but I'll-
played for 3
I'll
years.
spin that into a positive. His
Yeah.
body hasn't been through the ringer like a 32-year-old that's been playing nonstop.
I mean, he's had intermittent stops for playing his whole life.
It's irrelevant.
We had someone on, I think, I can't remember who it was. It was
Yeah.
a former Brown. We were talking to him, and he said, I'll tell you this about Josh Gordon. He still looks every bit the part that he did when he was here in Cleveland.
So does Joe
Like, it's
Charbonneau.
not like his body. No, Joe's body doesn't look like it did when he played.
The point is he probably can't
Joe
play.
Charbonneau.
He probably can't play in the NFL.
Let's find out.
Fine. I don't care if they bring
Let's
him
find
in,
out,
but
yeah.
like you can't expect anything.
I wouldn't, but if
Yeah.
it happens, what a bonus.
Darren, can you imagine if Bull and Jay were co-GMs of a team? This conversation right here would be
You know what
fire.
happened? No, Darren, we would miss the clock on every one of our
Oh
picks.
yeah, that's true.
The commissioner would walk out. The Cleveland Browns have missed the clock on their pick.
We're both holding one end of the
Colts
card.
Are now on the
tucking in.
and they take our war room and we're throwing our.
What's going on?
All right,
Yeah, that's
Darren.
the
Darren.
Mary I'll let Brett Veach do what he does. So.
Darren, thanks, man. Great stuff.
All right,
See you
brother,
later.
man. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
That'd be a
Appreciate your time.
funny
Thank you.
skit.
Yeah.